When you and I go through trials, when you and I go through difficulties, the conditional faith and the shallow faith says, where is God? He's supposed to bail me out of all these situations. I thought when I said yes to Jesus and I got baptized, then I would no longer ever have trouble again. Here's the reality. The good news is not that God saves us from our trials. The good news is that God saves us from our sin. All of us are going to go through difficult times. All of us are going to have pain in our lives. I want to tell you the value of taking faith with you. Because when you have faith with you, it has a tremendous value add for your life. It changes the way you see life, and it changes the way you see the trials you go through. So let me give you 3 reasons and 3 things that are so great when the trials come that these guys knew. And we're telling their people, listen, you lean into this. You don't have to go running after trials. You don't have to go running after persecution. But when they come, embrace it because it's going to benefit you in 3 ways. Here's the first one. Trials reveal your faith. Look what Peter says here in verse 7. These trials will show that your faith is genuine. It's being tested as fire tests and purifies gold, though your faith is far more precious than just mere gold. He said, listen, kind of like when gold, it goes through fire and you skim off the dross and you get to what's really good. That's what happens in your faith. So here's the question I want to ask you, okay? What kind of faith do you have? I'm going to give you a few options here. The first one is inherited faith. This is I have faith because my parents always took me to church. My grandma has the family Bible. I've always been a church-going person, or at least my grandma always went to church and my parents always went to church. Can I just tell you this? I mean this with all the love in the world. Jesus saves first names, not last names. In other words, that he's going to save individuals not based on your family tree, but based on have you given your life to him. And for many of us, we're walking around with kind of this card that says, oh, I belong to that family who goes to church. I belong to that family who has strong faith. And Jesus said, no, I want to know you. I want you to have genuine faith. So is your faith inherited? Here's the second one. So there's shallow faith. Jesus talks about this as he tells his parable of the sower who's throwing seed everywhere, and some of the seed doesn't go down into deep roots. And for some of us, our faith is just kind of shallow. It's kind of like rabbit's foot Christianity, where we'll pray a prayer when we need something, or when the Cowboys are playing, right? Or when we have to get a little bit of help, on a test or whatever. But it's kind of shallow. It doesn't have that depth to it. Now, I know that if you've been around church for a long time, you've heard people say, I just want to go deeper. I need a church that takes me deeper. I need deep faith. And what they mean by that is, I need to hear something I haven't heard before. I need another Bible study to learn more information. Can I just tell you that those of us sitting in this room have already heard more about the Bible and theology than the disciples ever did. But what they discovered that we often forget is depth in our faith is not about knowledge, but it's about knowledge applied. And the moment you hear truth and apply it, that's when you grow deep. And the moment you put into practice the things that we talk about in here, that's when you grow deep. That's why we started this podcast thing where we send out the little Monday Minute, so you get a little extra boost to tell you, here's what you do with this during the week. You might want to check that out, but it's basically to take our faith from being shallow and take it deeper into practice. Maybe your faith is like this. It's more conditional. It's based on when things are going good, then praise Jesus. Things are going bad, Jesus, where are you? Where did you go? Why are bad things happening? And certainly these people were wrestling with this, right? They were frustrated why they were struggling with this. But the kind of faith that you and I are wanting is what we just refer to as genuine faith. And genuine faith is the understanding there's a difference between belief and conviction. A belief is something you know enough about to argue about. A conviction is something that you would die for. And a lot of us have some beliefs, but a conviction is, no, I'm going to go to the grave for this thing. I recognize that it's true, but I have a willingness to demonstrate it in my recognition. Now let me give you kind of an example of this. The kind of genuine faith that you and I desire is the kind that has suffered and continues. Here's what I mean by that. If when I got to town a year ago, and I put on a Texas Rangers cap, and I said, I'm with you, you would have been happy, you would have been grateful, but you also would have thought, you haven't suffered like we have suffered, okay? You don't know what it's like to live through the 100 lost seasons. And can I just first of all tell you, I'm a Royals fan, so yeah, I get it, all right? But when you guys won the World Series last year, it was like so glorious. Why? Not just because you won, but because of all the losing you had done, right? All the 100 lost seasons and the close but not close enough World Series, right? And then you get to that point where you finally win it, and it's like, this is glorious because of all the pain we went through. And if I roll in and jump on the bandwagon with, yeah, we won the World Series, you're like, who are we talking? We. You weren't here when we were sitting out there at that other stadium sweating and watching them lose, right? It hasn't always been the living room experience, that we got at Globe Life Field now. It's been rough because what has happened over the last 50 years is your faith in your team has been trusted, tested, and now it's been revealed as genuine, and you get to celebrate. Here's what Peter is saying. It's far greater than baseball. When you go through trials, your faith, it gets revealed as genuine. That's what you want. Look what he says here in this passage. He says, you know what? This faith that you and I are wrestling with, it is so strong that it's far more precious than mere gold. I love what one person said. A faith that has been tested is a faith that can be trusted. That's the first thing that happens. Here's the second thing. Trials will actually grow your faith. Your faith will actually grow because of the trials that you are in. If you're going through a struggle right now, can I just tell you, when you come out on the other side of it, your faith will be stronger. Look what Peter says here in verse 8 and 9. You love God even though you've never seen him. Though you do not see him now, you trust him, and you rejoice with a glorious, inexpressible joy. The reward for trusting him will be the salvation of your souls. Now here's what he's saying. When you and I go through trials, when you and I go through difficulties, the conditional faith and the shallow faith says, where is God? He's supposed to bail me out of all these situations. I thought when I said yes to Jesus and I got baptized, then I would no longer ever have trouble again. Here's the reality. The good news is not that God saves us from our trials. The good news is that God saves us from our sin. And if we serve a king that died on a cross, then we're going to have trials. Jesus said, in this world you will have difficulty, you will have trouble, but take heart, I have overcome the world. In other words, one day it will get better. And it may not even be in this life, but it will change. Our faith is going to be revealed as something that is genuine and real and constantly increasing because of the difficulties we go through.